First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out and this wonderful support tonight. It's been wonderful. And, it's been a great privilege for us lads mixing with the new fans and the old fans, and we're all sorry that we couldn't remember your names, but we remember your faces. But I want to just endorse what Nico said so wonderfully, first of all, before I go through the line here, because I was a little concerned that some people weren't going to be mentioned here tonight, and I wouldn't let that happen. There's two people in particular that have been a little bit absent in this conversation, and I want to break the first point in stating these two people. One is Elizabeth Robbie, and the next one is her husband Joe. Without those two people, nothing happens. End of story. Nothing. We're not here. They affected our lives in a way that none of us can even imagine, and the ripples felt from the Robbie family throughout the United States and now throughout the world, they were a big splash in the pond of American football. Let's call it the right name, right? It's American football. And I had the most wonderful times with Joe in particular, and Elizabeth, but Mrs. Robbie was always too much of a sweetheart to really talk about the game, but Joe would. The most wonderful memories steeped through our first coach, Ron Newman, who spread a gospel throughout this area that only John the Baptist could have impersonated. He took the gospel of the game to the streets of Coral Springs and into the parks, just like Tommy's doing now, and the lads and Aaron and Tim doing a great job in picking this up and saying that's where we need to go again. And Ron led us in his own inimitable, special, soulful way. As a wonderful expression that Shakespeare calls a little touch of Harry in the night. And that's what Ron always brought to us. It wasn't as much of his overall awareness of what a coach should be, because we looked at Ron beyond our leader, beyond our tactical orchestrator. He was more than that. He was like our father, away from our fathers. And you wanted to run through a brick wall for Ron Newman. Every team that he went to, it was the same. Because of his heart, because of how he touched players. On the field, in his practices with his coaches, he was always very special and intense in talking about the runs from Fort Lauderdale Pier to Pompano Pier in 2 foot of sand, and he was whipping us all the way. And the most wonderful memories of Ron, way too many to mention. We'd be here till 2 o'clock in the morning if we started talking about the little stories and the big stories. I really would love to do that, but I've got to be on Sirius XM radio at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. But I'm only kidding. I'd be here all night with you people and with these lads up here in the memory of our strikers, about the advent of the strikers, and what Aaron and Traffic and Tim and the lads here and the coach, of course, Gunter, and we're doing a wonderful job. But I want to thank Ron as well, because with the wonderful Les Rigby, a name that is totally probably anonymous and so many people other than Ron's wife here. This man was the man who really constructed the first edition of the Strikers in the old-fashioned way. Ron would put a call into Les, a wonderful Yorkshireman, the old man and flat cap and a cigarette in his, but he knew the game inside out. And Ron would put the call in, I need a midfielder. And Les would get back to him, I've got a midfielder for you, plays for Newcastle, he's a good little lad, he'll come and play for you. And it was the same, Davy Irvin up front, Maurice Whittle, the one-eyed goalkeeper, Gordon Banks, unbelievable. And this is a team that went on and beat the Cosmos. It beat the Cosmos in that first game. It beat the Tampa Bay Rowdies. It wiped the forward, Toronto, on and on. It was the most wonderful. To say the Cinderella story sounds cliched and hackneyed, but Cinderella was an ugly duckling compared to our team. I mean, we had it all. And it was because Ron pulled us along and kept us believing, and it didn't turn out well in the end. The Cosmos rammed it down our throats in that majestical game up in Giant Stadium where they got 83,000. I remember we getting the New York Times paper the next day, and the post the day before the game, and it said Giant Stadium SRO. And I remember turning to Davey Irvin and said, "What the hell does SRO mean?" And he says, "I don't know." And I says, "I think it means sold out." But it was a wonderful time for us all, and the greatest year of my life was that first year. The other Strikers seasons were all great, but nothing like the first year. Nothing even close. I mean, the great players started arriving. Kubilas and Gerd Muller, Branko Segota, Arnie came in, but me and Nico were there from that first game when Colin Fowle scored that unbelievable goal, and you get a look at Colin and saying, "What the hell happened there?" Rest in peace, of course, Colin, a wonderful lad. And these were memories. And when we take it, I remember the headline was "The Glow of 4-0." That was the most wonderful headline in the Fort Lauderdale Sun Sentinel. And then we got beat the next game. So I hope Dave Brousseau doesn't write the big headlines ahead of the lads' big game against the Cosmos. But like I say, I could talk forever about Ron and the influence he had, but he was a wizard. He's a career that was second to none. Deserves to be in the Grand Hall of Fame with Arnie, and just wonderful. And we all know how much he gave to all of his teams, but none more so, even when he was beating my Minnesota Strikers in the final, you son of a... in the indoor final, in Branko.
You had to bring that up, Ray, didn't you?
Branko
that
and
one
Zungul
still hurts.
Yeah, Branko and Zungul were just magisterial beyond belief, and it was great. So Ron just went on to greater and better things. I want to talk about Arnie for a second as well. This lad came in and was wonderfully endeared by the fans, and everybody loved him. And I remember when Cole van der Hart came into the team, and he had a special goalkeeper, as special as Arnie had been. He looked at this goalkeeper who was virtually the Pelé of goalkeepers in world football, and we didn't know his name. We didn't know who he was talking about. The great late Jan van Beveren. Believe me, guys, I don't know if you know who this guy was, but the question is Holland ever going to win a World Cup? The Netherlands should have won 2 World Cups had they had this man in goal, Van Beveren, not Youngblood or the other guy. Van Beveren was Pelé. I used to call him the cat with wings. That's what he was like, this big, beautiful grasshopper in goal. And we didn't know what he was coming. And because Arnie had been so rock solid, he wasn't the problem. He wasn't the problem in the team. But Van der Hart knew for us to get to this level with the players that we had, that we needed Pelé in goal. And that was the type of player that had to be brought in to replace Arnie, because Arnie was always virtually man of the match in every game. We needed something even better than Arnie, and we got one, and Arnie will admit that. And that's no disrespect to Arnie Mauser, because he was absolutely superlative. But in Van Beveren, the great late Jan van Beveren, we got something entirely special. And we had 2 of the best goalkeepers in the league, and Arnie was absolutely wonderful in the time that we had him. This guy sitting next to me wasted his career, in my opinion. He wasted it. This guy should have been playing for Manchester United. This guy, Branko Segota, make no mistake about it, this was a talent beyond belief. This was a player that we were honoured. We couldn't believe we were getting him. When they said, Segota? From Rochester because he was lighting it up. He was not just a mercurial talent, and I'm not kissing these guys' asses for the sake of it. I'm not doing that, so don't laugh. This is the truth I'm telling you. This is the absolute double truth, Ruth. Now, this lad was so wonderful in every aspect of his game. You can keep... Gerd Muller was so special as a player. Branko Segura, in my own opinion, could have been the next Gerd Muller had he went to Germany, had he went to England, had he went to Timbuktu. It wouldn't have mattered. His talent was that tremendous. A passer of the ball, a leader, a personality, a finisher. There was only Kinalia that I would put above Branko by this much. So, and he went on and he played indoors and he became an immortal of the indoor game with Stevie Jungle. Better partnership than Lennon and McCartney. Those two, unstoppable, and that's why they won the championships that they did under Ron, with another great squad of players, Fernando Clavijo and some other wonderful footballers. But Branko, I used to call him Go-Go, because he had that sort of seductive dancing about him when he played. You'll not even remember what a damn go-go dancer is, you people. but Branko was